The sun had just started rising when I heard the loud banging on our front door. I was only 7 years old, curled up next to my mother in our tiny living room. It was just the two of us in that one-bedroom house, barely surviving, but I never noticed. My world was perfect as long as she was beside me. That morning changed everything. She stood up, tying her robe, and went to answer the door. I peeked through the blanket, blinking sleep out of my eyes. There were two police officers, their faces tight, eyes heavy with something I didn't understand. Within moments, the air grew cold. I watched my mother drop to her knees, a scream escaping her lips that shattered every wall in my heart. They said my grandmother, her mother, had died in her sleep. My mom crumbled, and that was the beginning of the end. She didn't talk much after that. Her laughter disappeared, and the glow in her eyes turned dim. Within weeks, she barely got out of bed. I started making my own cereal, walking to school alone, and waiting long hours for her to open the door when I came home. I missed her even though she was still there. Then came the night I wish I could forget. It was raining hard. I was sitting beside her, trying to get her to eat. She looked at me, really looked, and said, "If anything happens to me, go to your grandfather's house. Promise me." I didn't understand why. I hated that man. He smelled like smoke and old beer, and he never once smiled at me. But I nodded, because what else could I do? The next morning, I found her. Cold.
Still. Gone.
I screamed so loud the neighbors came running. They found me hugging her lifeless body, crying until my voice broke. She had taken her own life. The pain had been too much for her. She had left me. Just like that, I was an orphan. What followed was a blur. Men in uniforms. Papers signed. A black car that took me away. No one asked what I wanted. They sent me to my grandfather, just like she had said. That's when the real nightmare began. His house was nothing like ours. It was dark, musty, and full of silence. He didn't say much, just pointed to a corner room and told me, "That's yours." I stayed quiet, remembering my mother's words. I thought maybe he would warm up, maybe we'd heal together. I was wrong. It started with harsh words. Useless. Stupid. You're just like your mother. Then the hitting came. He drank every night. The smell of alcohol always came before the blows. Sometimes he used his belt. Sometimes he just used his fists. I'd curl into a ball and bite down on my own arm to stop from crying out loud. One night, it was worse than ever. He blamed me for everything, my mother's death, his loneliness, his failures. He kept hitting me until I felt warm blood running down my back. I lay on the cold floor, trembling, hoping I would die too. I couldn't take the pain.
But I didn't die.
I woke up the next morning sore, bleeding, and completely alone. That's when she came. My grandmother. Not the one who died, my other grandma. My mom's stepmother. I hadn't seen her in years. She wasn't even invited to the funeral. But someone must have told her what was happening. She came like a storm, pushing open that broken door with a strength I didn't know old women could have. She saw me lying there and gasped, falling to her knees. She didn't ask questions. She didn't wait. She picked me up like I weighed nothing, wrapped me in her coat, and walked out.
Just like that.
Out of hell. Out of darkness. She fought for me. She went to court, told them everything, showed them photos of my bruises, got restraining orders, went face to face with the man who had broken me and didn't flinch. She was small, gray-haired, with hands that shook, but her voice? It was thunder. And somehow I ended up living with her. Her house was small, old, and a little messy, but to me, it was heaven. She made pancakes every morning, sat beside me during nightmares, and rubbed ointment on my scars like they were her own wounds. I'd never seen love like that, so silent, so strong. One night, I asked her, "Why did you come for me? Why do you love me?" She smiled, her eyes full of tears. "Because no one came for me when I was your age. And I promised myself I'll never let a child go through what I did."
She saved me.
She gave me back my life. And in doing so, she gave me something I never had before. hope. Living with her was like being reborn, not all at once, but little by little, like spring pushing its way through a long, bitter winter. At first, I flinched every time she raised her hand to brush the hair from my eyes. I jumped at loud noises, slept with the light on, and barely spoke. She didn't rush me. Every morning she'd hum while she made breakfast, as if singing the sadness out of the walls. Her patience became the music that stitched my broken spirit. She taught me how to laugh again. We started baking together, something simple at first, cookies from a box. I remember spilling flour all over the floor and looking up in terror, expecting to be hit.
But she just laughed.
Not a small laugh, a real one. I hadn't heard it before. That day, something shifted. I smiled. And once you smile after years of pain, it feels like breaking out of prison. I began to speak again, asking her questions. She told me stories of her youth, how she grew up in a broken home too. Her mother left when she was 5, and her father worked long hours and drank too much. She told me about her scars. Not the ones on her skin, but the ones on her heart. And for the first time, I realized I wasn't alone. Healing wasn't just about leaving the bad behind, it was about building something new. She enrolled me in school, bought me clothes, and even stood up to the other kids when they laughed at my old backpack. "He's got more strength in his little finger than most of you have in your whole bodies," she told them once. And I believed her.
Because she believed in me.
Years passed and I grew stronger. I joined the school choir, then the debate team. I started writing stories, at first just for myself, then for others. Stories about pain, about survival, about hope. People listened. One day in high school, a teacher read my story aloud to the class. When she finished, the room was silent. Then someone clapped. Then everyone did. That was the moment I realized my story mattered. I wasn't just a survivor. I was a voice. My grandmother came to every event, every performance, every parent-teacher meeting. She cheered louder than anyone. She knitted my first tie for my debate competition. I wore it proudly. I still have it. She got older, her hands slower, her steps more fragile. But her spirit never faded. When I turned 18, I got a scholarship to college. I cried the day I left. Not because I was scared, but because I didn't want to leave her. She hugged me, whispering, "Fly, baby. Show the world what pain turned into." In college, I studied social work and psychology. I wanted to be the person I once needed. And every time I doubted myself, I remembered her. The woman who chose to love me when it was hardest. The woman who didn't let history repeat itself. After graduation, I started a nonprofit to help abused children find homes, therapy, and most of all, hope. I named it Grandma's Hands. Because her hands, those tired, weathered hands, held the power to heal what the world had broken. She passed away when I was 26. Quietly.
Peacefully.
She died in her sleep, the way good souls often do. I held her hand until the last breath left her body. And as I sat by her side, I whispered, "You didn't just save me. You created me."